Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of our podcast. We're here on the sidelines of the Central Eurasian Venture Forum 2023. My name is Olžas Žienkulov, founder of Investbank, and I'm the humble host for this episode. And today, as our guest, we have Dr. Jonathan Chang, a very esteemed professional, CEO of Fintopia Indonesia. And that is just a start of the many achievements he has under his belt. And more importantly, he has traveled the distance. We all know, people from Central Asia know that getting here is not the easiest of tasks, but he has made that trip. We are thankful for that. To start off, I gave a very modest introduction about you. Could you expand on that, who you are and what you do for a living?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And it's my first time in Kazakhstan and just being in Almaty for a day and a half now. I am feeling very inspired. Just the scenery and the weather is perfect. About my background, thank you so much for that introduction. I would say it's an intersection of four sectors. One is entrepreneurship. So I have founded and co-founded 5 tech companies across multiple sectors, 2 in Silicon Valley, 2 in New York City, and 1 in Indonesia. The second bucket is education. I have spent many years leading research centers, conducting research. I'm a professor. I teach entrepreneurship and innovation. And then the third bucket is public policy. So over the years, I have the opportunities to advise and work with a number of governments around the world, from Singapore, Indonesia, Cambodia, New Zealand, and Canada. And the last bucket is corporations, so businesses. So I have worked at Google and Shopify, and now I'm at Fintopia.
Thank you very much. So the first logical question for someone like you would be, how do you balance? How do you balance the multitude of roles and multitude of destinations you're traveling, multitude of designations, and how do you maintain sanity while doing all of that?
Good question. That is not the first question that somebody asked me. Even people in my life that are really, really close to me, sometimes they ask me, how do you juggle all of these things? And the way I look at the things that I do, first of all, it has to come from an authentic place, meaning I will not do something just because it is cool or just because people ask me to do. I usually do something because I genuinely feel it is something that I want to learn, and it is something that I can add value. That is very important to me. I don't just do something just because, again, I want to extract something, but I always see a symbiotic relationship between what I do is I need to be able to contribute to something, because there's always a lot of great opportunities out there. So that, having said that, that leads to why I get to do what I get to do, because other people can see that I come from a genuine place. I want to learn. I want to contribute. I consider myself pretty easygoing. I go with the flow. I don't really have a lot of restrictions on what I do. I think that allows me to move around in many different places. And last but not least, how I keep it kind of sane in doing all of this. Again, I find there is a commonality on all of this, which is I see how I can contribute to the broader sector with my skills, my networks, and things like that. And that allows me to feel that I have a meaning in what I do. And I genuinely believe that as well, that there is a greater purpose in whatever I do. It's not money. It's not just money. I know money is very important, but there is a different satisfaction when I see my work can inspire other people and can touch somebody's life. And that keeps me sane, actually, because I really enjoy what I do.
Thank you, Jonathan. And we're going to divide this podcast into multiple parts. And the first part is we're going to dive deeper into you, if you don't mind, just to let our speakers know more about you and the value of your experience. So let's start from the beginning. The very first startup you have ever created and exited from. Please tell us more about it. Was it a success? What was it about?
Okay. I started my first company during my senior year in college. So I went to UC Berkeley. I studied political science. Why I mention that? Because it's very important in my story. I studied political science and I started my first company during my senior year. And why the political science is important because I didn't come from the business background. I didn't learn about balance sheets and how to do proper finances and things like that. So I made a lot of mistakes in my first company. Having said that, I also learned a ton. And that is something that I share with a lot of people, especially aspiring entrepreneurs as well, is that you don't just learn about the successes, but also the failure. And I started that company is in online games. So we provided virtual goods that people use in the in-game, but we also manage things now without giving too much about my age. But so at that time, Second Life was one of the online games. And so we manage properties for other companies. We flip properties. This is all virtual properties, yeah. So anyway, long story short, I had that company for about 5 years. But I really felt burnout because I never learned business, because I didn't know the importance of having the right ecosystem, the right support system. I did most of the things on my own. Of course, I had my team members, but I just did a lot on my own. I had crazy sleeping hours. I gained tremendous weight. It became an unhealthy lifestyle. So I had it for 5 years, and then the largest competitor to my company at that time, we're the second in the market, came in with an offer that I couldn't refuse. Anyway, I felt like I really needed to walk away. So I sold the company and I took 1 year sabbatical just to find myself again. So I'm going to stop the story there and see if you have any other questions.
Thank you. Means that was a good sale. In the interest of time, I'm going to touch on the most important aspects to our listeners, but that's a wonderful start. Now let's jump to the very end. What is Fintopia today? What is your role there? And why did you join it?
Fintopia originated from China. So it's a fintech unicorn. In a short way is we providing access to financing to people that usually do not get access to financing. So in a way, it's mostly to the underbanked or unbanked. Originated from China, expanded to other markets, Indonesia, Mexico, and we just get our licenses in the Philippines and Thailand. So I'm the CEO of the Indonesia operation. So we have 500 employees there. We're growing. We have channeled more than 1.7 billion US dollars in the past 3 years alone. So business has been growing really well. And why I joined this company is actually because one of the co-founders is a close friend of another friend of mine, that a close friend from Stanford Business School. So it was just over lunch, and they're asking, look, would you be willing to help the Indonesia operation because they need somebody that understand how to bring the company to the next level, but also understand the complexity working in a heavily regulated industry that has that business acumen, but also understanding the public policy angle, the government relations, which is very important. So those are some of the things that I like to do. And long story short, again, they convinced me to join this company, and that's what I did.
Thank you. On this note, let's move on to the second part of our podcast, learnings. Could you share well, first of all, before I go there, could you share about your educational background and the choices you made in education and how it helped you progress? And I've already heard Berkeley, I already heard Stanford, and I think I read in your profile Harvard as well. So please, could you tell us more about it and the choices you made there?
Yes. So just to get out of the way, so my undergraduate from Berkeley, and then I got 2 master's degree from Stanford Business School and Harvard Kennedy School of Government. So I really like that intersection of business and government, and then I got my PhD from UPenn. Now, how I came about this even education journey is people usually get really surprised because they thought that I'm this brainiac, like a very smart guy. Actually, that is the furthest from the truth, and I'm being honest right now. Growing up, I always struggled in school. I remember in my elementary school, I was the last in my class all the time. It was actually quite embarrassing, even for my mother to go to the school and pick up the school report, because that was how bad it was. But then I realized along the way, the issue was not that I wasn't smart, but the issue is that perhaps I learned differently, that I cannot learn in the traditional way of learning, which is a lot of memorizations, a lot of following whatever that the teacher is doing, but it's really understanding the larger context of why this one is related to this and this and that. And that set up a freedom in my approach in my education. So I was able to convince the first school, which was Berkeley, that I was a different kid. I was a different student. I learned differently. And they saw it. They saw beyond the numbers, beyond whatever that I needed to do. But of course, grades-wise, I was able to pick up as well, thanks to my mentors, thanks to a lot of the teachers in my life that spent extra hours for me. So that's how I got into Berkeley. And then subsequently is because of my passion. Again, as I said, I wanted to combine business and government. And there's in my mind at that time, there were only two schools that I wanted to go, which is the Stanford Business School and the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And then getting a PhD is something that also I wanted to know, because I love teaching. I'm deeply passionate about teaching. Whatever I do, I always have one foot in academia, because again, I will never forget how I came to where I am today, right? All the struggles that I had in education. I wanted to reach out. I want to make sure that the younger generation did not need to experience what I experienced.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that journey. It's really impressive. Could you dive into your learnings more, not just from academia, but from the businesses you had? What are some of the things, perhaps inefficiencies you noticed, and things that you learned that helped you become who you are today, and you could share with the young entrepreneurs that could be listening to this?
Yes. Thank you so much for that question, because I think this is the part where sometimes, again, people, aspiring entrepreneurs or young people, they only see the success stories, right? Now, I'm going to bring back to the first company even that we spoke about earlier. Because I never studied business, I didn't know anything. But I was young and I was arrogant. I thought that I knew it all. So I wasn't being honest with myself as far as the importance of web security. So long story short, this is quite long story, but I don't want to dial into the details. But my website got hacked. I didn't know what to do. A lot of our customers were impacted. Again, long story short, I literally had to go to all of our internet providers, all of the companies. Good thing I was in Silicon Valley, so I was able to walk into their offices in person to ask for help. But that's when I realized that one of the biggest lessons that I had out of that experience is, first of all, I need to be honest with myself and to others, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. Why? Because if you're not good at something, it's better to be upfront. It's better to get people that can help you so that you don't make those stupid mistakes, right? Being arrogant, being sort of, you want to look good, it will not bring anything. That is the first biggest big lessons that I learned from my entrepreneurship journey. The second part is the importance of having the right ecosystem. And this is subsequently from my other startups, in which money, again, oftentimes people react happily because somebody wanted to give you money, want to give you investment. You're like, oh my God, I've been trying so hard, and then finally somebody wanted to give. And you forget that money, yes, it's good, but you also need to understand where the money coming from, right? So you want to pick the right partner that will be there with you through the ups and downs of having a startup. And trust me, there will be some down time, like times that are really low. So those are the things that I learned in business. So that's first and second. And then last but not least is trying to get your product out early. There's no use of trying to be perfect, trying to get, I don't know, yeah, again, like the perfect product or service to be out there. There will never be a perfect product and service. You need to get it out there as soon as possible. Why? Because you need to test the market. You need to get feedback early. The longer you wait, that kills the momentum. And the best feedback is the feedback from the customers. Don't worry about it. Even if it's negative feedback, you need to be able to react fast. And that is another thing that I learned.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next part of our discussion. As mentioned, we are on the sidelines of the Central Eurasian Venture Forum 2023. And the topic of the forum is investable brains in the age of AI. I know Fintopia is not an AI company, maybe yet. Oh, you are.
I can explain, yes.
Oh, my apologies. Then here's my first question.
Okay.
Please tell us more about it.
Yeah, so we do use AI and machine learning in doing especially credit assessment of our lenders. And remember what I said earlier. So all of our loans, they are unsecured loans. In a way, we do need to use AI. We do need to use technology to build a credit profile. And a lot of these people, they're unbanked, they're underbanked. So they don't have credit history. They don't have bank accounts. So in a way, we need to help them build that. And we use over 6,000 dimensions in order for us to assess the credit worthiness of somebody. I would say that is probably one of the big advantages, a big advantage that we have in the market over other players, because we're able to use data, we use AI, and we're able to react very quickly to fraud, to even improving our customer service, customer experience, how we how we handle complaints, all of that. That is because of our AI and our machine learning.
Beautiful. Thank you for correcting my understanding. And then a follow-up question. Being a technologically enabled institution, being an AI company as well, what are some of the trends that you see? Maybe some of the, I wouldn't go as far as saying predictions, but analysis. Some of the shape-changing technologies you are looking to subscribe to. What can you share from your standpoint, from your expertise with our listeners?
One thing that we really wanted to invest a lot, it is not necessarily on reaching out and getting our business, because that part is actually we're doing really well. So people know us, people come to us, and our marketing department is doing a tremendous job. One area that we're going to invest even more is to improve the overall customer experience, from customer service, how people interact with us, the chatbots, the type of answers, how the replies, and all of these things. And that is where AI is going to come in place, because the language, right, the natural language capability of even like ChatGPT, for example, things like that is just tremendous for us. If customers are happy, if their questions are answered fully, thoroughly, and on time, then they are less likely to use other platforms, or they also more likely to refer their friends or their other people to us, and things like that. So overall customer experience is very important. Again, it is not just about providing loans and how to do collections and things like that, but we really wanted to show that we are a human-centric company, but using AI and machine learning behind that.
Beautiful, thank you. And considering that, and considering there are obviously, given the growth of the industry, there will be many young entrepreneurs aspiring to join that industry. Any advice you can give them? Anything to look out for? Anything to learn, perhaps, before doing it?
Which industry? Sorry, I just want to clarify.
Well,
Fintech or
no, AI.
AI. I would say that we're at the cusp of a new revolution here with AI and Kickstart, of course, with ChatGPT. I understand that there are a lot of concerns out there. I understand that people worried about robots one day is going to rule the world and kind of like that. Look, you can call me optimist, but I do feel like this technology is a tool. It's not something. It's something that we can utilize. And there's always, if you look at history, every generation, there's always some kind of technology advancement in which people didn't like, in which people thought that it will replace us. But yet we're here. We're thriving. We're growing. So in a way, we need to think about beyond what these tools are able to do, but what type of added value that your startup or you can add in order to take advantage of the technology advancement, so that people will use your product or services. So in short, my advice is think about a unique way that you can add value on top of the current AI development. Make it unique, make it something special. I think that would be really exciting. Don't just do something cookie cutter. In my experience, that will not really go far.
Absolutely, thank you. And if I would take that question a notch up, if you were to look at other companies' technologies that are AI or AI related, and founders or maybe professionals to hire in your team, in your AI department, so-called investable brains in the age of AI, what would you look for?
So you mean like when I'm looking at either when I would like to invest in a particular idea or not?
Let's assume if it was an AI idea, or even if you were hiring AI experts, and you can go. It's up to you. Generally, whether that is your expanded and advanced customer service department that you're creating, or be that may ML engineers that you're hiring in your team. But is there anything to note, anything you can share about investing in brains in the age of AI, anything you're looking for?
Yes, and I like the term that you use, investing in brains. So the reason I'm saying that is because I'm not a technical person. I know that I've started a number of companies, but I'm not a technical person. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to read code. I don't know how to even talk to very hardcore technical people. But what I always do, and I invest the time, is to understand the personalities, the characters of the people. Because I believe technology or skills, there's something that you can learn, you can pick up, you can read a book, you can watch YouTubes, you can listen to podcasts like this. You can do things to improve that. But the drive within you, yes, you can improve that, but it will take longer. So I see, I try whenever I interview people, either employees or I also make small investments, even when I interview founders, I'm looking for that fire, something that is special about this person that makes me want to talk to them even more, makes me even forget the technology solutions that they're offering, because I'm so drawn to them as an individual. Either they have an amazing story to tell, either they have something that they're so passionate about, and being able to answer the question of why do you do what you do, why you're studying this. That's why I like what your questions earlier about why I study this, my life story and things like that. I think that is what we all should do when we look at a technology, when we look at investable brains. The brains is not the technical part. The brains are the ones that it's a collections of who we are, the collection of our past histories, our emotions, and our ups and downs in life. Those are more interesting to me than your hard skill. But again, as I said, I might be a different person, because I know that some people looking at the more on the hard skill, but I'm looking more the soft skill. As I said about the added value that you can bring, that is largely based on your soft skill, like your personality, your characters, your life experiences.
Thank you for sharing. I also invest on my own account as an early stage investor, and a lot of what you're sharing resonates with me a lot. Beautiful. And next session of in the last part of our discussion, Central Asia. First of all, once again, thank you for taking the time to travel, to come here. As I mentioned on the scene from the main stage, in nomadic culture, when someone comes from afar, it's a celebration. So with this podcast, we'd like to celebrate you and your trip. Yeah, as I understand, your first trip to Kazakhstan.
Yes.
So please, your impressions of Central Asia, of the venture scene here, of the weather, whatever you would like to share.
Just like I said earlier, for those that are maybe if you get the chance to rewatch the panel discussion, I made a comment about Southeast Asia, not a country, it's a collection of countries. I would say that my approach to Central Asia is the same. It is not a country, it's a collection of countries. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I know everything about Central Asia just because I've been only to Kazakhstan. This is my first trip and only spent about a day and a half in Almaty. But I do have to say what I've seen, and why I'm quite excited about this, and I would like to explore the region more and understand more. As soon as I landed, even throughout the day's experience, I see even the digital payment system. It's so convenient. I feel like I don't even need to withdraw cash or exchange money in some other places. I'm able to move around using my phone, my Apple Pay or Google Pay or whatever that you use, Android Pay. It's a cashless so far. That's what I see, and that is quite apparent to me. And that means the payment system, the fintech sector is thriving. And then the second part is the beautiful scenery around here. And I think there's something about it. There's something about it being quite therapeutic. I feel very calm. I feel in the zone. I wonder whether that will also affect the way I run my company if I were to run it here. Less stress probably. And then also the ability to kind of blend in between work hard, but also being able to live live healthily by maybe doing hiking, doing a little bit of mountain climbings, or maybe doing water sports or whatever it is. I find that could be very interesting from running a company and being in the zone and being focused. And last but not least, the connectivity. I appreciate that you appreciated that I come all the way here, but trust me, the trip was actually quite smooth and simple from Singapore to here. So I think that connectivity allows the movement of people as well, right? I'm actually quite surprised that I should have come here much earlier, because it's just a lot. It's so simple to get here. Actually, it's not as complicated as people think. And that allows people to come in, people to get out, exchange of ideas, exchange of knowledge. So I would say I am very bullish. I am looking forward to come back here again in near future, either in whatever capacity, right? It could be sharing my knowledge and my network, but vice versa. For those that are coming into Southeast Asia, more than happy to see how we can collaborate on that as well. So I would say that that's sort of my first impression.
Thank you, Jonathan. I would just want to say you're one of the few people who didn't complain about the trip here, and I appreciate that a lot. We're working on it. I as not from a non-for-profit standpoint, there are actually, we had a huge forum, Singapore, Kazakhstan Business Forum. I was part of the Singapore delegation, and there was actually a commitment made to create a direct flight. Good news from Singapore.
That's great.
But building on your second point, please do come back here. From what I understand, come back here as our advisor, our friend, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
That would be my honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.